looking at the shadow of the man's back, leaving. The dog thought it was. Eat him for it. Since then, the dog followed him every day. It seems to have considered him his master. Even if it's raining, he puts up a stake. At the door of his house, he begged to come in. The dog only knows his district in the corner. Endure the rain and streams. Pray for the cold rain to quickly return to the forest. The man named Damascus, and he didn't just dislike dogs. Due to the death of a family member, due to a car driver, since he was a child, his personality, since then also, become extremely closed. I don't want to get married. Don't want to have children. Also don't want to make friends. Even when others enthusiastically ask, then he also coldly avoided. Because he thinks that investing too much, many emotions will bring disaster for life of their own. Nevertheless, he didn't know it. They are about to become an existential in each other's lives. That day, the dog was still as usual. Le followed behind him. Dama was going to continue to flutter, ignoring but not paying attention, referring to the motorcycle rushing in the distance. A pitiful cry rang out from behind him, made him stop. When he turned to look back, the dog was already in a pool of blood. In front of that scene, Dama was just dumbfounded in a paved rope, and then he blew, wearing his back and walking home. Soon after, the surrounding neighbors heard the sound of running. Everyone complains that stray dogs, disturbing their lives. There was only one girl standing next to him, caring for the dying dog. Unexpectedly, at this time, Dama turned around again. Go out. Then he went into the house to install a seat on a motorcycle. Then ignore all the questions of everyone. The silent person carried the dog into the car. In the midst of the chatter of the crowd, he went straight to the disease institute. Tomorrow, the dog is not seriously injured, but I don't understand why the little dog. This child is very afraid of needles. After the bandage is complete, where the dog will go, become a new problem. Although the doctor loves it very much, but he can't continue to take care of a new dog. Finally, the doctor suggested that Ma temporarily raise the dog. Then, after finding an adoptive family, will take the dog away. Nevertheless, the neighborhood where Damascus lived, dogs are not allowed. Moreover, he didn't want to have this trouble, so resolutely refused the doctor's suggestion. He threw the hospital fee on the table, then got up and left. When Dama returned home, he carefully observed the cave. Tie of neighbors around like that, I am very afraid of being others discovered. But he didn't know that what he wanted to hide was discovered by the neighbor's girl, dog. Okay, Dama no more. Ignoring the dog. Last, he also agreed to raise it for a while. But he always lived alone. Is it possible to live in harmony, along with the dog? The real trouble is just getting started. Midnight. When Dama was sleeping, the dog suddenly barked damply. To avoid being detected by neighbors, he had to get up and coax him. But every time I just lay down, the dog continued to bark again, made him repeat himself all night like that. When the dog finally stopped barking, that's when the general alarm sounded again. At this time, the dog was asleep, snoring in the sky. When Dama came home from work in the evening, seeing the scene in front of him, he seemed to want to collapse. The room that is already, the ministry is now even more exposed. I understand what the dog needs. Release energy should. Reluctantly took it out, parked for a walk. Although Dama is the one who won, he weighs more than 200 pounds. But it looks as if the dog was scolding him. He also thought about letting the dog stay, returned to the park, and hurriedly ran home. But as soon as she arrived, the neighbor girl knocked on the door and said that he had just seen the dog in the park. Dama felt a little worried, immediately asked the little girl more. Is it still in the park? Here? In the following days, the dog was still naughty as usual. He only held on when Dama did not let the intention to let his pants go out, making Dama had to humiliate himself in front of his neighbors. In the evening, it even got into his legs to be intimate with him. The next morning, when Damascus awoke, it also gave him a surprise fruit. Day by day, time goes by. Then one day, Damascus received a call from the doctor. The doctor announced that he had found it, the person who adopted the dog. They will come to pick up the dog that afternoon. Dama was delighted when he heard this. Inconsiderate. But it seems, as the dog understands, this, indeed. That evening when Dama came home and opened the door, the scene in front of him made him unbelievable. Mr. Then the machine held the spear to give the dog a lesson. But the dog was too fast, so Dama chased forever without being able to touch it. At that moment, the door of the room suddenly opened. It turned out that the adoptive family had arrived. But when they see the scene in the room, then the results do not need to be seen. Although Dama tried to explain that it was just an incident but completely has no effect. So he lost a family, then wants to adopt a dog. Dama had to call the doctor to find other families. But on that day, when Dama went out, a incident occurred. He suddenly felt dizzy. Right behind him fell to the ground. The dog didn't understand what was going on. Happened to Dama. He approached, trying to wake him up. He was worried, and used his small legs, patted him upside down. But Dama was so weak that he cannot utter any words. Fortunately, the dog's bark attracted neighbors, and they called an ambulance for you. But even so, the dog is still not at ease, still clinging to the back without leaving. Although many times he was hit by a car, the traffic that goes back and forth with them, it doesn't give up either. Just because the ambulance stopped due to a car that he was extremely worried about, finally under its escort. The ambulance arrived at the hospital in time, and Dama was only worried. No serious problems. When asked about his family, Dama was about to shake his head when his gaze touched the dog standing outside the door. Even if you don't know what's going on. But the dog is always worried for his safety. Dama felt the warmth of love, a body that he had long forgotten. That night when I got home, Dama suddenly lost sleep, as if the heart was frozen. The price has long since begun to melt. The next morning, when the dog jumps on the bed again, cuddling, Dama was surprised to recognize him, no longer feeling uncomfortable. Even when the dog is barking, he also thought that he liked to eat ice cream, and decided to go to the ice cream parlor. He hasn't stopped by since his family's death. Buy the dog his favorite ice cream. But when things start to change in the direction of liking the extreme, the doctor gave a family the newly adopted commune. Dama suddenly felt extremely confused, because he realized that he seemed to like the dog, but calculated. The stubborn way makes him not dare to admit it, just a little hesitant. The adoptive family has decided to take the dog walks, and the dog quickly barks. The dog left the house. The dog didn't understand what was going on. Happens, but it feels. He confessed that he had been abandoned by Damascus. It's big, as if to beg him to keep it, as if it promises that will not be naughty anymore. But Dama just stood there in a daze, worship until the dog was put in the car and out of sight. The room returns to tranquility, inherently static, but Ma didn't feel as happy as he thought. Every time you see a pet of others, he kept remembering the dog. The pent-up emotions also make Ma gets angry with his colleagues. In the evening, when I heard the sound of the dwarf dog on the TV, even alcohol can't fill full of space in his heart. The next day, the neighbor girl came to Dama. The girl still didn't know the dog had been taken, so I gave him a picture. In the painting is the image of Dama, and the dog was sitting in front of the notch. While he was melancholy, he accepted. Get a call from the doctor. Him like you are quick to take action. The custom of transferring pets. Then Dama reluctantly came. Adoptive families. He was still hesitating whether to keep the dog. As he was thinking, he decided to push the door in. Seeing the frightened children hiding under the table, feathers flew all over the room as if it went through a battle. And the mother is scolding. The dog hid behind the table. Dama shook his head, then looked at the tired expression of the mother and the dog's satisfied expression. In the end, he couldn't help, laughed out loud. The most unconscious action is the most authentic and real. That's what you really do. Thoughts in the heart. Dama no longer resists, but comfortably welcomes. Receive the warmth that the dog brings. But alas, do you have another family? Want to adopt a dog too? Under the influence of the dog, Dama began to share his love with everyone. But the words of a salesperson have posed new problems. The dog still has no name. That evening when I returned home, Dama pondered for a while. Also came up with a name. Akli. From there, the dog officially called Chakli. Dama finally finds is a place to lean on. Chakli can comfortably play under the companionship of Damascus. For he knows that his beloved uncle will never abandon yourself. Chakli is now a dog, pampered and loved. It no longer has to endure the sea, rain and wind out there too, because it has a roof of its own. Just want it to be able to live. Happiness is here forever. Dama also gradually changed. Under the influence of Chakli, his optimism and enthusiasm made colleagues surprised. But the wheel of fate keeps spinning. Things started to change from this moment. That day when Dama came home, Chakli was very stubborn. Even though he listened to the command, he still refused to make movements. Thank you for making the neighbor's little girl angry. Put down the couple and left. After the girl left, Chakli spared the helmet again, one to be walked by Dama onwards. But Dama blamed him all day long. Eating and sleeping do not learn anything. Chakli seemed to understand what he was saying. It climbed up on the man who lay down in the mill. His heart was extremely pitiful. Even though I softened my heart and forgave him, but Dama didn't realize that. Sadness on Chakli's face and drops. Tears rolled down his body. The next morning, when Dama was about to go out, Chakli lay still again in front of him. The door did not move. Although Dama has repeatedly urged, but it still doesn't react. But Dama just thinks it is just being naughty, pulled it aside, and hurriedly left. But in the evening when Damascus came back to see Chakli, did not rush out to wait for him as usual. Dama thinks that perhaps Chakli is still and angry with him for what happened this morning. But when taking the helmet position, implicitly implying that he would, drove him out, but Chakli, there is still no reaction. He gently stabbed Chakli in the leg, and the findings below are a puddle of yellow liquid, and it just came out. After taking Chakli to the hospital for a checkup, the result made Dama panic. Chakli had cancer and according to the current situation, it doesn't live much longer. Hearing this news, Dama seemed to hit his ears. He tried to stay calm, but tears did not stop falling. I don't know what I can do in the rest of Chakli's time. At this moment, he saw Chakli again, just dancing in front of the TV screen. This action made Dama seem to wake up. It turns out that Chakli is a favorite. It must be ice cream, but snow. After thinking for a while, Dama decides to spend his last days of Chakli to take him to see the snow. After packing your luggage, a person and a dog start to practice. To the north, they enjoy the warm breeze, crossing coastal bridges, walk through the golden wheat fields, and watch the starry sky. But when the journey is on the other side of the road, Ma receives a call from the doctor. As it turned out, the doctor found out the reason Chakli is afraid of needles. The doctor sent Dama a video. It's a video about age, a dog's poem. In the video, the dog is brutally tortured. Dama watched and trembled with anger when they see the scene describing themselves. Think of the times Chakli was afraid of needles. Dama tried to call the name in the video. Kit. Once. Chakli heard that guy and was scared, to the point that they don't dare to show their skin. On the journey heading north, Dama decided to make one. The first thing is, lead Chakli to the address provided by the doctor. When the middle door is pressed, a man full of pictures, tattoo appeared in front of the door. Recalling Chakli have suffered, Dama couldn't suppress his anger. I don't know how much time has passed. The other man only dared, peeking out each end of the outer skin. With the owner by his side, Chakli is no longer afraid. Dama also takes this day as Chakli's lucky day. After that, one person, one dog, continue the journey. Along the way, Dama took Chakli out to hang out. He wanted to leave Chakli for the days. The rest of the brief is watched. Look at the beauty of the world, as much as possible. He called out Chakli's name, wishing to leave the mark of it is in the middle of the vast heavens and the earth. Even when the glider has landed, both are still excited. But the journey must continue. And then, unfortunate things happened. The motorcycle suddenly ran out of gas. Luckily they caught the car passed. The car owner also has a pet dog and enthusiastically invite them to go home to play. In the evening, the landlord is still standarded, was given a big luncheon. Right in their story, the host was touched and immediately invited. They stayed for a few days. The landlord's farm is full of fire. Chakli plays with Chakli every day, the landlord's little dog. Dama also experienced many things, new and never try. Perhaps they all look forward to the moment. This lasts forever, so that this journey does not, never ends. But that day, Dama notices Chakli's body have begun to show signs of landslides. He also realized the time of Chakli is no longer, and they were forced to leave. Understand why. The landlord also does not keep them staying, but asks Dama to take Chakli to participate. Exhibition. Because it is a matter of pride, exclusively for dogs. He believed that Chakli would enjoy that. When you actually come to the exhibition, look at other dogs, show their skills. Dama couldn't help but feel worried because Chakli was never trained. Indeed, as soon as he entered the field, Chakli was fascinated by novel space. It started running around. Dama had to run in a hurry, followed to catch again. And this scene also made the audience. Jia couldn't help but laugh out loud. The jury also said that they shouldn't have come here. listening to criticism, and the murmur of the surrounding stars. Dama couldn't take it anymore. He scolded Chakli loudly, because nothing can be done. Even said that he don't like it anymore. Doesn't care about facial expressions. Chakli's palpable milk. Dama turned away and left. Sit down at the corner of the skin. Chakli thought that the owner of Bin, Lian, hurriedly followed, touched the man of Dama with his little foot, as if begging for forgiveness. This sight makes people look. The audience was extremely surprised. As it turned out, Dama wasn't real. The rebuke of Chakli. I just want the audience to see the talent. Its special capabilities. Maybe a dog doesn't need. Must have too many skills. As long as it always accompanies the owner. Understand the mood of the owner. And know how to protect. When they are in danger, they are already at their peak. Chakli's actions made everyone was amazed. But to prove that Chakli is the best dog, Dama decided to raise the bar. Jump to the highest. This is not for bragging. Because Damascus trusted, and was sure that Chakli can do it. Chakli understood what he meant, and began to run. All eyes on the audience. The radio is also clear. And then, with a powerful jump, Chakli overcomes the jump bar and they see it witnessed by everyone. The stands immediately exploded in applause and sewing. Not only because it broke records, but also because people really love Chakli. The name Chakli is also engraved deep in the hearts of the audience. The journey of one person at a time. The dog continues. But to buy medicine for Chakli, Dama has spent all his numbers, their savings. Even the spear was. Strong winds blow away. They can only rest on. The car was crumpled. To continue the journey, Dama was forced to sell the motorbike that had stuck with me for a long time. But no matter what difficulties they face, determined to take Chakli to see the snow of though, he still didn't waver. As the temperature drops, they are also getting closer and closer to their destination. But Chakli's time is also. There are not many more. In his heart, it was as if he was covered by the gloomy fog never dissipated. After a long journey, they finally saw the turn. The mountain is covered with white snow. But before the joy, they were stopped by the guards. Then there was a word in front of him. The land cannot go on. Dama went to the petition, but are still not allowed to pass. No one understands the urgency. Your pack makes you. I can't hold back my emotions. In despair. And that noise has also attracted attention of a senior officer. After listening to Dama's story, he looked at his expression, and then carefully observed Chakli in the car. Finally brought them back. Army barracks. It turns out that the story of Dama and Chakli was in the newspaper, and the officer was also arrested. This matter is mixed. However, for safety reasons, it is impossible to allow them to go up the mountain. Night comes. Hear the sound of grace. Chakli's pain. Dama realized that today could be the last chance for Chakli to see the snow. Taking advantage of the time when the guards were guarding he sneaked out of the barracks and carried. Chakli ran quickly towards the snowy mountain. Their story as it was. Blue sky hybrid. Make the snow fall white. Like flowers filling the sky. Finally, after crossing that forest, they have also reached the foot of the snow mountain. This is the first time Chakli has seen snow indeed. It was also the first time for Dama. He gently placed Chakli on the floor. Soft snow to it. Feel the bitter cold but calming under the feet. Chakli doesn't stop sniffing the scent again, but full of love. This moment. It feels the scene before. The eyes were like dreams. He turned his head to look at Dama, as if thanking him. Then, it threw itself into the snow, and happily run and jump. Even jumped up. Try to touch the falling snowflakes. At this time, Dama's heart was also feel more relieved, because he has fulfilled his promise. Watching Chakli run towards the vase, the soul was once covered by gloom, as if warmed by the light of the sun. They both played in the snow. This moment is like time stopping. No more sadness, no more pain. Even illness has to give way. When Damascus returned and told everyone, hearers of Chakli's joy, although many people do not understand the yell, but in his heart really found contentment. But the reality is never. Now it is as beautiful as a fairy tale. The next morning when Dama awoke up, he discovered that Chakli had disappeared. He went everywhere looking, but there are no spreads. Even if it snows, it is impossible. Stop his steps. He called out Chakli's name loudly. I hope to receive a response. Perhaps the heavens have mercy on Dama. He saw the footprints. Chakli is already printed in the snow. Hurriedly chased after him and didn't dare pause for a second. It was as if there was an invisible force guiding the way. Finally, in the middle of a snowstorm, England saw Chakli's figure. Dama sat down quietly beside Chakli. Archaeology is like being run back. Didn't dare to utter a word. I was afraid that if I opened my mouth, I would cry. Chackley seems to feel it too, the owner's sadness. It gently entered Da. The ghost is the same as before. This time, he couldn't hold back anymore. He did everything he could. Find a doctor, pray to the gods, but still can't keep it. Chackley's life. Chackley seemed to understand everything. It put all its energy into it. Make a thank you gesture, then quietly lie in the circle, Dama's hand, and stopped breathing. In the midst of this white, snowy field, no one knows how long Dama sat there, until he seemed to heard a sound. Dama followed the sound and walked into the wooden house for inspection. Inside was a small black dog. As it turned out, Chackley was afraid that after he left, Dama will be.
Enjoyed the video? Hit subscribe, drop a like, share with your crew, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk movies.